Hey, welcome back to Wealth Be Hers. This is our weekly podcast. Today, I'm going to have a good time. I'm having two friends on, Anne Peterson and Robyn Alley-Hay, and we'll talk about how we know each other. But we're talking about self-care. We're talking about radical self-care. And it goes beyond, mani-pedis and taking a nap. And there's a lot to taking care of yourself that will really benefit us in how we show up in the world. I believe we're all here for a reason. And if we don't take care of ourselves, we aren't able to let our light shine the way it should so that we can give the world our greatest gift. You know that at Money with Mission and Wealth Be Hers, we believe every woman should have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that is not in her best interest. And believe it or not, finances are part of your self-care. Financial self-care is a practice of making money decisions that reduce stress, increase optionality, and protect your future self, even when those decisions are uncomfortable in the present. Financial self-care is the practice of making money decisions that reduce stress, increase optionality, and protect your future self, even when it's uncomfortable today. So we don't talk as much about financial self-care in this conversation as I might, but self-care is self-care. And I want us all to really realize in this holiday season when we're doing for everyone else that it is a gift to you and to everyone else to take care of yourself. That being said, I want to remind you of our upcoming retreat in Dominica in March 25th through 29th. It is the first Wealth Be Hers retreat. It's going to be so much fun, you guys. 12 of us coming together to sit around, eat great food, hang out at the pool, go to the beach, go on hikes, and be together to talk about money. Let's form a community of women who can share and help us practice our self-care, help us make boundaries for what is good for us in our life. Sometimes we have a really hard time of creating our own boundaries, but a group of women that you can talk to, share with, cry with, who understand you and are just there to support you and listen without judgment. Go onto the website, moneywithmission.com, events, and Wealth Be Hers, and you'll find out more about the retreat. And if you haven't subscribed already to this podcast or to our YouTube channel, I would very, very much appreciate it if you would. If you want to talk to me about the retreat or talk to me about guests you'd like to have on the podcast, send us an email. And I think that's it. Let's get on with this conversation. Enjoy it. And please, please practice self-care this holiday season. Welcome back to Wealth Be Hers, you guys. Today, I'm going to get a chance to talk to some friends of mine. I actually talk to them fairly often, but this is going to be for you guys to hear. Talking to Anne Peterson, a very good friend of mine who is in Texas, and Robyn Alley-Hay, who is also in Texas. I met both of these women through Anne's organization called Illuminate Women. It wasn't called that when we started, but we got to Illuminate Women, which we all love so much. And Robyn, through that, Robyn is are you retired, Robyn? Do you call yourself a retired OBGYN?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm calling myself retired. It's
Okay.
been a while. Since I
Okay.
took maybe. So yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So we're going to get started, and this is just going to be a conversation, free flowing. God only knows where this is going to go. So let's go, you guys. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. It's
Actually, I
awesome.
forgot to tell you, we're going to be talking about self-care, and we're going to
Yeah.
get the definition of self-care. And I'll tell you why I wanted to have this conversation with them on air with you guys in just a minute. So, Anne, tell us more about you before we get started so they know why they need to listen to us,
Okay. Well, I'm a long time, at 57 years old, right? Long time coach, consultant, facilitator, trainer, like that. And when I was around, I don't know, I think I had a hysterectomy early, like in my 40s. And that kind of set off this whole little world. And I literally came upon one day, I don't know what, I did this marriage retreat. That's where it started. I did this marriage retreat with my husband. I'm like, and it was all about women want love and men need respect. And I'm like, no, we don't. I need you to take out the damn garbage when you said you would. Like, I need you to, I'm like, I don't care about that stuff. I just want you to just hold up your end of the deal.
Okay.
And and I was tired and I was dealing with all kinds of health stuff. I didn't really know how, like, I would later come to find out I had an autoimmune condition and all this stuff. But I didn't know any of that yet. I just knew I was like exhausted and fed up and tired. And here I was like this transformational coach. And I was like even tired trying to hold all that together and all of that. So I started this question. I'm like, after I left that weekend marriage thing, I kind of was like, oh, I think I kind of do like love. I think I do like some of that girly stuff. My whole life up until then had just been about surviving and making stuff happen. Can we swear?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Are we an explicit podcast? Okay.
We're
Some things just require swear words.
yes.
But I was just like, I just needed shit to work and my kids to be okay and to, like all that. And I left that and I'm like, oh, I think I may be, or he might be onto something, this guy that was teaching this marriage thing. And that had me start out, I started out with getaways and I called them the goddess getaways, which was completely freaked me out. I'm like, I can't be saying that out loud and whatever.
Yeah.
But there was something really appealing about it. And so like everything I started it because I was sort of interested in finding out, well, wait, what does it really mean to be a woman? I hadn't really thought about it that much. And what is it? And then the self-care thing kind of emerged out of that. So pretty quickly, we do this getaway, we do these vacations where we're having fun and we're really talking about our, sovereignty and, all this kind of stuff. So it sort of all evolves out of that about 6 years ago. And so but that's what got me into this whole conversation about, I think what I would now call radical self-care, like way beyond and we'll get into this, way beyond the bubble baths and the nails, which I've been doing my nails for 30 years, like that was my thing.
I haven't.
I haven't been doing mine for 30 years, but I did start doing them. And I'm like you, Anne, in that I never thought I was girly until I got a chance to be girly. And then,
But like real girly, not I love Susan always says, we can't, no imagery with, long blonde hair or the older version, skinny white women with long silver hair.
Yeah.
She's my partner who does a lot of the writing and stuff with me. And now Robyn has joined us in that adventure. But we're like, no, what are real women in the real world really dealing with? And we just discovered along the way that as we start to have more reverence for ourselves as women, self-care starts to show up as something that matters, but in a different way than we thought when we started, for sure.
Got it. Robyn,
Yeah.
you're a retired OBGYN. Talk about that. How you've been retired for a long time. You're not like 100 years old, so you retired young.
Thank you, I guess. Okay, so yeah, I've been through a couple burnouts. Life didn't go as I thought it should go. And I actually met Anne, and because of Anne, I have my husband, which is great. But yeah, this whole conversation about energy is what I'm interested in. I coach women physicians, and it's a lot of they're not taking care of themselves, and they know it.
Mhm.
For yet it's so hard because you have to schedule it. We'll get into the like more taking care of yourself, but that for me has been like, yeah, you can't do it all. I tried doing it all and that did not work. So
And I was too. So it sounds like you took you to burn out a couple times to realize you have to take care of yourself. And I know we all know women who are there and don't know, and maybe they know why, but not as much the why that they can actually fix themselves. Is that I think
right,
that's the
right.
problem. And I know I've been burned out. I've got friends burned out, and it's like, how do we keep others from getting to here? How do younger women in medicine, younger women entrepreneurs, younger women who are starting out, and we don't want them to give up something that they think they want in their life or to try to have it all at once. Because only you can have it all, but not necessarily all at once kind of person. Because you do almost kill yourself and spend a lot of time crying in bed trying to figure out what's wrong with you when
Exactly.
Well, when we started the Illuminate Women, well, it started out as Goddess, right? And now it's Illuminate Women. And then we have a membership product we still call Goddess Living, which is explicitly about self-care. But we started just like, wait, how did we get here?
yeah.
How did we as women on the macro level, how did we get here? And I would say our group is a lot about, we spend a lot of time sort of studying and reading and listening and laughing and crying and yelling and, all the things. But in the background is this curiosity. How did we get here? And it got really clear. Women, we've won a lot of battles. We've won the right to have careers. We've won the right. But as we won those things, first of all, we haven't given up anything.
There's nothing we didn't get to give anything up.
We didn't get to give anything up. So now, and we're doing a series right now, our email series, we kind of pick topics and we kind of stay on it for usually at least a month. Sometimes it's up to 3 months. Sex was 3 months and has been done numerous times. But right now we're talking a lot about women's worth and from a societal level, and like that. And it's really helpful to see that. I have found that really helpful because I thought my burnout was a personal problem.
Yes.
And I kept trying to handle it personally.
Yeah.
But it's not a personal problem. It's a societal problem that we are personally impacted by. That's what I've come to believe. And we're in the impact of a lot of amazing things, the right to become physicians, 200, 300, 400 years ago, you would have been burned at the stake, ladies, for having the audacity to be doctors.
Yeah.
Literally. So that's extraordinary. But we're also still expected to raise the children, care for the parents, manage the house. I didn't even tell you this today, Felecia, because I was ranting and raving this morning about how it just took me 10 hours to just get my car serviced and trying to get it relicensed. I went and spent an hour and a half this morning at the registration place to get to the counter for him to say, "Oh, something's happening in your account online, and so I can't help you. Can you come back on Monday?" And so I've been counting up the amount of hours that I will spend just trying to get my car and this is like this is supposed to be the luxury experience. So getting my car serviced and my registration renewed that expires in December. By the time I get the sticker on the car, it'll probably be somewhere between 10 and 12 hours.
And if you put a dollar value on that time.
Oh my God. Don't even ask me. I need more bubble baths than there are time
We don't
for.
need to answer the question, but it's the thing, these time cost, not only just dollars, but mental health. I mean, just imagine the stress and annoyance, and because she was annoyed this morning when we were talking on the phone, and it just can be a part of the whole cycle of our burnout without us even realizing that that's a thing. Because people say, yesterday, what'd you do? And I was like, oh, not much happened. But shit, man, a whole bunch of stuff. So many things were coming. Dogs to the kennel, go work out, come home. The sprinkler guys came out there because the sprinkler was leaking. Oh, this isn't our problem. Oh, wait, we fixed it. Oh, no, I still have a pool in my yard. So they have to come back. And then there's just so much stuff going on. Dog ate chocolate. So many different things that you have to take care of that can just where you didn't get anything productive done in the day, but you got so much other done. And I think that so many of us feel like we don't get anything done because you didn't make any money. And
I'm trying to find the article we just wrote about the value. And so I'm going to have to go by memory because I can't find it really quick. But they're talking about women in some recent studies that they estimate that women do up to, this was in a particular country where they've actually, I think it's Guatemala.
Colombia. It was in Colombia.
Yeah, but
2 billion hours. I did review it.
Did you read it? Okay, great. That article
worth of work. It was like 8% of the GDP.
And 10 hours, some of them 10 hours a day of unpaid labor on top of the 8, 9, 10 hours a day of paid labor.
Of other work. Yes.
So I don't quite get that math. So they're not sleeping much in that.
I'm going to have you go back because you used a word earlier, sovereignty, our sovereignty. And I don't know what that means. Right. I think I'm going to know. What
we mean, and this was really a discovery as we just started down this inquiry, right? So the main tool I would say we use in our community is inquiry, curiosity and inquiry. Well, wait, why is it going that way? Why am I feeling that? Like that. And what we started to discover was as we started to, as women, experience our sovereignty, our value, our worth, our unique expression, our precious, all these things to me are like expressions of sovereignty and our independent right and worth simply because we are, Not even because we are women, but just because we are. I am is all I need to be valuable. I have a big thing about, I coach people, I have coached people a lot, and they're like, okay, I don't know how to price this, and I want to go get this new job, but what am I worth? And I'm like, you're priceless. Nobody's going to pay you what you're worth because you are priceless. That is, to me, is claiming that pricelessness is an expression of sovereignty. And what we discovered is as we start to recognize our own preciousness, our own, and have reverence for self, we call that sovereignty. Then self-care becomes a different thing. It's like, well, of course, I mean, think about how you take care of that precious something that your great grandmother gave you. Those incredible, antiques or something that you have in your life that you consider precious. Our children, up to a point, mine are adults now, they lose some of the shine, I'm just telling you. But they're still, right? Like, I'm going to sacrifice everything to take care of that which I regard as precious. And I don't have to think about it. I don't have to put it at the bottom of the list. It's at the top of the list. So how do I get myself at the top of the list? And we saw that was connected to our view of ourselves, and viewing ourselves as sovereign was a way into that.
So one of the things I notice about myself, Robyn, is that I can be sovereign, but I kind of apologize for it. It's like, I have to do this, but I'm sorry. I mean, it might not even say I'm sorry, but it's just it's even the way I feel about having to do something for myself sometimes, depending on who feel like I'm taking away from. And how do we work through that? Because I know there's probably quite a few women out there who's like, well, I would never not take care of them first. They get everything, and then you're falling into bed and
Right. Right. Well, I got to tell you that, or share that, what it took for me to get that was the Dalai Lama his teachings about, if you don't have a self, then you can't be of service. You can't have compassion unless you have compassion for yourself, unless you have love for yourself, unless you take care of this body, this self, and this, whatever we call it, soul. We can't offer that out in the world without operating out of a deficit. So it took an authority figure in my life. He's one of my teachers, for me to really get that, oh my God, to my bones, where I know that, oh my gosh, I have to take care of myself. I absolutely have to, so I can show up for the people that I love and care about. And so I could show up at my job, or I could show up, doing things that I like to do, like that.
as your best, as the person thing you're put here to do, what you're here to do. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can never be the full expression of that. And I don't know if other people believe they're here for a particular thing. I tend to think we all are here for something. And it's hard to show up and be the best of that thing if you're not honoring yourself.
Right.
And okay, so as I said to you guys before, and I'm going to say it to everybody else, that I thought self-care was making sure I got my nails done, or I made sure I got my hair done, or I made sure that, I don't know, just those kinds of things. To me now, that I've talked to you guys and read some of the stuff that you've put out, it's like that's so superficial. There's so much more. And I went online, and so there's 7 pillars to self-care. I'm like, what? 7 pillars to self-care? 7?
Ooh, tell us what you found.
Physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, environmental, and recreational.
Ooh, that's totally consistent, by the way, with the NIH model for 8 areas of wellness. So that's just you just literally rattled off 7 of the 8. So that's interesting. Which is anyway, there's a whole history to that model. I want to make one comment about the thing that Robyn said too, though, that kind of ties to that, which is, I think a way into, and I'm going to keep using the term radical self-care to differentiate it from the bubble bath nails, which I love, love, do all the time. Don't get that way. But that's kind of beginner self-care. It's a great place to begin.
Yeah.
and build on, right? So not poo-pooing it, but so I'm going to refer to radical self-care. And one of the things I've seen working with a lot of women is the way to get them to start is that women will motivate to do something if it's against something else. So I'm going to do this so that I can that.
Yes.
And I remember I was a teen mom. I had my son when I was 15 years old, and I went to this, big conference, and I got the whole, like, the airplane's going down, the thing comes, the air mask comes out. What do? Do you put it on yourself or your baby? Well, self-righteous 15-year-old. I'm like, you take care of the baby first, And then, of course, the big lesson in the thing is, no, you got to put it on yourself, because if you don't care for yourself, you can't care for your child. I think most women actually have that.
Yes.
I think we have that level, actually. I think we grossly underestimate what taking care of ourselves means.
I think that is true. The second part is true. Yes, I think
Okay.
we know that we have to take care of ourselves, but we don't know what that
We don't know what that means, really. But there is a kind of a deeper level of, and it's what that model you're referencing to eventually kind of gets to, which is that we take care of ourselves because we are precious.
Mm.
We are the light and the life of the world. All of us, the men, the women, all of us, that there is this, we can step out of that sort of hierarchical cause, in order to thing. And I just kind of put that out there like kind of a stake in the ground. I'm not there yet. I mean, I have to practice that every day. I deal with self-doubts and limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, all the things. But where I keep finding the most power is like, wait, I don't have to earn anything.
Mhm.
I am worth all of it already. And that's where I'm at work. It is just getting that message. And self-care for me, radical care, then becomes a way to keep reinforcing that knowing, that understanding for myself. Does that make sense?
It does. And I like that you said, I'm not there. It's a constant work, because
It is a work in progress.
even thinking about how I talk about money scarcity, and money's everywhere. I still have to realize when I'm in that mode. So it's just a matter of you switching yourself out of it, recognizing you're there and switching yourself out. The same thing with the self-care is realizing you're running yourself ragged, trying to take care of everybody else. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Why am I doing that? Number one. And I'm sure we come up with so many reasons. Nobody else will. The place will fall apart. If I drop a ball, the whole thing's all the things that we know as women who have reached ages that know, it's like, freaking ball can drop and the whole house ain't going to burn down. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think we also need to recognize that we are living in a society that doesn't value women, doesn't value femininity. I mean, and I don't say that to be, I am a feminist, but I'm not saying that to be fiery and crazy. I mean, I can be, but that's not really how it is for me. It's like, no, that's just the facts, Jack. We just, right now, women are valued much more than they were 100 years ago at a society level. And that's great. We should celebrate that progress. I happen to be somebody, I actually thought when Obama got elected, I was like, there is no more racism, which of course meant there was no more sexism. Anyway, I would come to see that's not true. So, and I just bring that piece in because part of why self-care stays so topical is because we're being marketed to all the time. And one of the things for that marketing, the current way that marketing goes is there's a problem. We got this thing that's going to fix it. Oh, you're exhausted from being overworked as a woman. We got the perfect bubble bath solution or hormone. So, we got the thing for you. But see, what always is coming with the answer is the problem. It's just worth acknowledging that a lot of the problem that we feel is being reinforced daily, constantly through all kinds of messaging, marketing and messaging that is in that bigger world. So as you see that, you kind of step out.
And can I just add a word here? And that is practice. I mean, we are being bombarded with messages of consumerism, whatever. And when we have awareness, that's the other big word, awareness to notice it, and then we can change it. And it's going to be practice. It's not like you said, Anne, it's like you have a community of women. We all do. We love each other here because, we appreciate this so much that we as women in the world we're worth that, and we know our programming. And so deconstructing these conversations and being in inquiry is one of my favorite things to do. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. And
So I like that, the awareness and the presence. And one of the least things that's necessary for that is being rested. And how many of us are not rested? So it's really hard to be aware of anything. And our rest comes from our lack of rest comes from lots of different reasons, from things you can control, like where, your sleep hygiene, da 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 da. And then we have our hormone changes that come on us at earlier than we think. Nobody told us, but it comes earlier than you think, where then your sleep is just all messed up. And now what do I do? And the studies are so many all over the place as to what you can take and not take, and meditate or drink more milk or do whatever, and you're trying to figure it out and have your high-powered entrepreneurial job, being a physician, being a lawyer, being a whatever you're being, and taking care of all the other things without the rest. And it's hard to even get to fucking taking care of myself because I don't even know who I am. What do you mean?
So that you just spoke to that physical aspect of radical self-care, right? Like,
Yes.
it's like, oh wow, okay, I need to address my hormone, imbalance. When I got diagnosed with autoimmune, I went down this whole, it took a long time to get diagnosed correctly, but then when I did, I was fortunate enough to be diagnosed by a regenerative medicine doctor that had a very holistic approach. But yeah, I still 10 years later, I mean, you had me just look at my sleep score. I'm like, oh dang, it was only an 83 last night, but that's what practice, Robyn has said practice, that's what it is. Radical self-care is a daily practice, and it's a lot of learning. And another thing that you just kind of mentioned on the slide that I think is essential and the most important piece is a posse of women. A posse of women who maybe men need men posses too, probably. I don't know. I don't want to leave them out, but
Yeah.
but women, and that's what I've loved so much about our Goddess Living group and our Friday, women's circle, where we can just come on and talk about whatever we got to talk about together with women who've been there, who've, understood it. We can just talk openly and honestly and learn. So, because learning that sleep was kind of one of the number one things that I could use to manage my stress, and then learning how to do that. And, gosh, okay, don't eat anything after 8 o'clock. And no, the wind down thing really is a thing. Like, I've got to wind down for an hour before I'm actually closing my eyes. And, whatever, all these like little things, right, that you kind of start to learn along the way. But self-care does start with, that would be the number one thing. If I was counting, get a posse of women,
Supportive women, the women that and the same thing of like with your money, you want people that you trust, because you don't want to just be putting your stuff out there. And we all know people, like I've had women friends who turned out to not be friends, and it happens. So you're selective on who you're talking to and who you're talking your problems to. And it's, you got to find your group. That's the bottom line. And having other women, and I mean, we're talking age range women, all the same age, where you guys are having all the same problems and you don't know how to deal with them until you get to the next stage. And you want somebody helping you and just do it better. It's like, you don't have to give birth to your own mistakes. You learn from somebody else, somebody else's mistakes, and then you can make a new one that you can help the next folks coming up not make that one. Are we ever going to get perfect, you guys? I don't think so.
I guess we had a guest on one of our Fridays one time. She wrote this great book called Optimistic Aging. And she she said this thing that just like rocked my world. So I'm a super relational person. I have lots of friends and have, just lots of friends. And I call myself I call myself a recovering codependent, because I've come in the last 10 years to realize these codependent strategies that I developed as I kind of came up and surviving life and making stuff happen. But she said this thing in this talk about how the women in your posse are healthy. Like how do you tell a healthy friend from an unhealthy friend? And she said this thing, I'll never forget it. She said, the ones that celebrate your wins. those are your healthy friends. And I was blown away because my circle, for me, my best friends were always the ones that were there to hold my head when I was crying. And they were the ones that were going to show up and help me when things were the worst and whatever. And I don't think that that's not true. Robyn, I was dealing with a really intense situation a few weeks ago, and Robyn was like, I'm coming over and I'm going to stay. And and she was great. She's like, I'm here to protect you from yourself, because I was being way too generous to somebody that I shouldn't be. And it was causing me some serious hurt. Right. But I never forget that. And Robyn is one of those friends. Like, I'll call her up and go, oh my God, I just had this one. And she's going to celebrate with me. And I had another friend who was one of my best friends for 35 years. And it wasn't until after this talk I would realize when I would tell her something, she'd kind of tear it down a little bit. She'd go, well, yeah, but don't get too comfortable in that. Or, well, that's not really true. Or, but she would sort of subtly tear it down. And that was my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really no shade on her. We're not currently, friends. She actually kind of walked out of my life mostly because I was just like, hey, don't do that. Why are you doing that?
And I don't think many people recognize that. So I like the group of women because I don't tend to celebrate my own wins, but I can come and say something happened and I'll run right past. I go, hold on a second. Wait a second. Did you just tell us that da-da-da-da happened? Back it up. Let's celebrate that. And that's
exactly
what I need. So even if you may not even think about celebrating your wins, but if you can talk to your friends and they know what you're looking at and they see that it got accomplished.
See, that's some emotional radical self-care right there. Is having a posse of friends or somebody you can go to and they're going to go like, okay, no, let's celebrate those wins. Let's,
Just to be acknowledged. Go ahead.
What I love, Felecia, is that what you're up to in the world is educating women. And we tend to think of money as separate from our self-care. And that's not true at all. I mean, for instance, this last weekend, I went to a conference that was about building businesses and protecting your assets and blah, 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 blah. That to me was a total different language, which thank God I have somebody that I can, go to if I need to. But we came out of there with a plan. And we have put that plan. In fact, my husband's doing it right now. He's on a call with some experts. And I know what is, and I know what we're working for. And I know that in my mind is straight. And it's so much power. I didn't realize how much it was weighing on me.
Yeah.
Knowing the finances and, I was always like, "Daddy, don't talk to me."
Me too.
Like that sometimes.
I call Felecia when I go too far down that rabbit hole.
I can't deal with it right now. I was like, I can't deal with it right now. You do have to be in the right mind, but you also have to know you have to get there at some point. And you may not ever be 100% in that space, but you got to look at the numbers. You just have to know where you are. And that part of that financial self-care lets you have all the options that you may want to have so you can do what you want to do and be that sovereign individual. You can put boundaries around what you're going to do and not do and accept and not accept as far as how someone's treating you. I think about people, women at work, sorry, Anne, at work have to who decide to put up with some BS from higher ups, bosses, men or women, doesn't matter who they are, because they don't have another option. I have to get paid. And so so they don't even put up the boundary. I'm accepting this behavior because I don't feel like I have a choice. But if you have your financial sovereignty, you have the ability, and you have the ability to walk away because it doesn't fit you anymore. That is everything.
Or if you have a plan or a path or you're engaged with that. Like, I wouldn't say I'm in that place. Like right now I'm relying 100% on my husband's, I'm just draining money from our coffers. I'm not putting much in right now. And I'm blessed, to have a great partner in that. But I really have been reckoning with in the last, couple of years, like, okay, no, I got to put my big girl panties on and start learning about this and as I've done that, it's been challenging. It's been confronting. And there's times I have to step away because I feel overwhelmed. I feel scared, whatnot. But if I know I'm in the game, of learning, in the game of getting there. And I don't have to get there in order to be sovereign. Being in the game is an act of sovereignty. It is an act of self-care.
Yes.
It is. I love, we did an email the other day and we called it, so your self-care isn't selfish, it's activism.
Active resistance.
It's an act of resistance and activism to, especially as women, because we do live in a society that does not value the feminine side, whether it's in men or women. We just don't value it that way, right? And so, but it's, we have to start valuing it in ourselves, and then we can start being, bringing that forth in our society. And starting with learning.
Sorry, and one of the things that was in one of the newsletters was talking about how our society, our government doesn't value some of care work. So nursing has become not a profession in the eyes of the Department of Education. And what are the implications of that, Robyn?
Well, that's a really good point. It was all about student loans, and there's a set limit that you can borrow. And they define professions as, multiple professions, but they're all at doctorate levels. Like even a veterinarian is a doctor, but there are nurse doctors. How do they get there? How do they get to these places of leadership without the education? And their limit, they decided to declassify, which personally, I think was the wrong thing to do, nurses as professionals. And so what the impact is they can't borrow as much money
for school.
There's a different value system as far as what you can borrow as a nurse versus what you can borrow as a doctor. Like that, we need our nurses. We need them to.
And what percentage of nurses are women?
Oh gosh, 67%. I think.
No, 87.
87.
I happen to have the email that Robyn wrote right up.
I'm terrible with nurse.
Yeah. But 80% are women. And when we were looking at this, one of the things that I didn't know, like I was stunned when Robyn was doing the research and she wrote the draft of this article. And then we all get on the phone and we go through them. It's like favorite work activity of the week, actually, is getting on the phone with Susan and Robyn and go, okay, what are we going to put out on the emails this week? And this one, what I was shocked is that there are these professions that were male dominated, if you look historically. So there was a time in which doctors were only men, teachers were only men, right? Like go back a couple hundred years. And by society, they were very highly regarded. Very, 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 they got lots of privilege and so on. Then as women moved into those professions, it gets lowered. It gets lowered in regard, lower in pay, lower in value. So that's what's happened with nursing. And what's interesting is we have men are joining. I mean, I've had several male nurses. And then all that gets sort of institutionalized and we forget. We kind of forget. We don't know. So I read a lot about that policy, about the change. And it was very clear to me when you really get into it is the people in Congress making that decision and whatnot, they're completely unaware of the, I'll call it unintended consequence of yet another primarily female dominated profession being demoted in regard. And it's completely a numbers thing for them. It's about trying to lower federal student loan debt. That's what they're trying to do. And they're like, oh, we don't. And there's this belief that if they do that, the institutions of higher education will stop. Oh, they think they're overcharging, because basically their theory is that they know what the federal limits are. So they're going to charge that much, whether it costs that much. And then the profit goes to the institution, blah, blah, blah. It's like a whole game.
Yeah.
Women and their status in our society, that's collateral damage that nobody's thinking about. Right. But we're living with it every day. We're living with it every day as we have less and less nurses. I mean, I don't think we're treating our doctors very well either. So that's not working so well either, whether they're men or women. But what I loved in this thing when we put it together was we looked at how we can individually, collectively, and culturally impact these things through self-care.
Give examples. Either one of you, because I know you've done it.
Well, I'll read the article. So individually is continue a practice of radical self-care with the understanding that it's not about just personal healing. It's actually political resistance. It is standing up and saying, you know what? I'm precious. I'm sovereign just because I am here. That is all the reason I need to take that time for myself to, whatever it is. When you honor your needs, you're challenging a belief system. So that's the individually. Collectively, recognizing that when we advocate for policies that value care work, whether it's nursing, childcare, elder care, mental health services, these are all, work that is devalued in our society. We're not just helping others, we're actually changing the cultural narrative that affects how we see ourselves and the worthiness of care. So being a demand for that in our political system. I have my little 5 calls app. My poor representatives and congresspeople are tired of hearing from me, but it's part of my self-care thing is to make a call every week. I live in Texas and trust me, I have lots to complain about. But just calling and saying like, hey, no, get your act together, knock it off. This matters. I live in your district and this is what's important to me. And it is important, even though I know I'm like on an uphill battle and look, I'm a progressive liberal in a very red state. But I don't care. I am going to be who I am. That is an act of self-care for me. So, and then culturally, demand that emotional labor, empathy, and the ability to manage complex human relationships be recognized not as an innate feminine quality, but as sophisticated skills developed through education and experience.
And for us, for people and women, sometimes women, to recognize that as a transferable skill, because so many think that, like, oh, I manage the kids, I manage, the household, I do all those things, and that's all I can do. That's what I do. It's like, no. Those are CEO skills. That's those are very transferable to something that brings in money. Unfortunately, those domestic things right now don't get you paid. That's a whole nother conversation.
It is a whole other conversation.
But we can start demanding it. I hear from women all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, but my husband won't do that, or my partner won't do that, or whatever. Like they're not. And my husband for years, we had a whole thing. He took care of the outside of the house stuff. I took care of the inside of the house stuff. And he would tell me for years and years and years and years, he would never do laundry, never do laundry. He's like, I can't do laundry. I can't fold. I'm whatever. I'm like, whatever, and then I don't even know what happened. It was in the pandemic. Anyway, my husband does all the laundry now. Like he does all the laundry. Basically what it took was me creating a countertop space where he could fold. But it also took me being willing to not do the laundry.
Yeah.
Every time. It took me going like, well, I don't know. Sorry, you don't have any clean underwear. So sad, too bad, But without making him wrong, without making it a case, just saying, no, I'm not going to do that. Or I need help, or, making those requests. I have a couple of my clients right now are very powerhouse women. And the biggest thing they're dealing with is actually being willing to create the space around them for both their families, their partners and their children and their workers, because one of the ones I'm thinking of has, a business. She has several workers, but she's so busy doing everything there that nobody has to step up.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you got to be willing, let the dishes sit in the sink a little bit, or just say, you know what would make a real difference for me, honey, is if you actually did those dishes. It would be life changing. I'll take the diamonds too. Like I love that my husband used to always buy me fancy jewelry, and I'm like, and he was blown away one time when I was like, my favorite gift he ever got me was a silicone teapot off Amazon for like $20 that I could put in my suitcase because I drink tea, not coffee. And I loved that way more than the diamond earrings. And he was like, what? And I'm like, man, that shows me, you know what I need. You're taking care of me.
Yeah.
You know what else you can do to take care of me? Do some laundry.
Now, I think some of us get irritated when we have to point out the things that need to get done, number one. So I think we have to get past that to know that my nutrition coach was talking about how he keeps his closet clean now. And his wife said, and he said, I never noticed it was a mess before. And she said, yeah, I know. Because everybody doesn't see the same thing. And we think, how can you walk past this kitchen and not see the freaking dishes all over the place? What dishes? So we do have to kind of let people know what needs to be done and accept it when it's not done exactly the way we would have done it.
Yes.
Well, and that's part of self-care. You know how you can help me take care of myself, honey? You can help do the dishes. It's not just because I'm one of those people. I used to always say all the time, what, do you need a stupid star chart like the kids did when they were, I mean, I'm like, Felicia and I have fun with this every once in a while. I'm like, why should I have to tell you what I need? But part of my self-care has been learning to let people know what I need.
Yes.
And that it's actually probably been one of the most absolutely challenging parts, to be able to be vulnerable and say, you know what, I really need right now. I need some help. I need some help.
Yes. And then accepting it in the way that they give it, the way that it is.
Oh yeah.
And it's not always the picture you thought it was going to be. It rarely is. And the question is, did it help?
Right.
And we really have to get to that. And okay, so physical, we kind of talked about physical, mental, and setting boundaries. That's really hard. Is mental boundaries or emotional boundaries, or both of them are boundaries? They probably both are. Setting boundaries for like
Robyn, you take this one. Robyn's got good boundaries.
Well,
Robyn's taught me about boundaries.
yeah, boundaries are the ability to say no. Like we were talking earlier about a friend of ours teaches self-defense for women. And one of the things that's so transformational is women learning to say no really loud, like scream no. Like
Mhm.
that was so hard for people to get.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a societal thing that we have to like push up against and say, no, that doesn't work for me. Or just say no.
No is a complete sentence. Somebody told me no is a complete sentence.
Yes, exactly.
I have to follow that.
Exactly.
Just
Okay.
no.
Yeah. So
We did one whole month of inquiries one time we did 1 month on no and 1 month on yes. Just curiosity, just inquiring using our Friday calls. And the biggest thing we discovered is, as women, we noticed for either side, yes or no, we always had to have a reason.
Yes.
So it really took something. So we're like, yeah, whether it was for yes or no, we had to have yeah. Oh, you want to go to lunch? Oh, sorry, I can't. I have to take care of the kids, rather than just like, oh, yeah.
When really you just don't want to.
Yeah. It really is just, it takes practice, but it's challenging. Anyway, go ahead, Robyn. What else?
Oh, I just think that you have to value yourself. This whole part about, we are worthy just as we are. And you have to value yourself and your time. Definitely your time. And the whole guilt thing. I mean, that's just not very helpful as far as an emotion goes. The guilt can go to shame and all of that. And it's a whole conversation about, no, I'm a person, I have sovereignty, and this is my kingdom.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing about boundaries is we tend to think, because we're so externalized, we tend to think boundaries are about keeping people out. No, boundaries are often about keeping us in. And that was when Robyn came, when I was like dealing with this rough situation. She goes, because I kind of lost my cool on this person, like in very unhealthy ways. And Robyn's like, I'm not coming to protect you from her. I'm coming to protect you from you.
Yeah.
I'm coming to help reify your boundaries, because I was, behaving in ways that weren't healthy for me, and saying yes to too much and not no to, whatever. And just then having Robyn here with me as we, dealt with this particular situation, helped me hold my boundary.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when women start working with boundaries and they're out there like, I gotta go, how do I communicate my boundaries? I'm like, you look in the mirror. That's how. Like, you talk in the mirror and go, okay, no, I'm not taking on anything. Like, one of the rules I have for myself right now is I don't get to create any new courses or programs until all the ones I already have are actually buyable on my platform. Then I can create something new. And that's a boundary that I've created for myself. So boundaries are for us.
Yes. And yeah, I 100% agree. I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead, Robyn.
You're passing it to me, but do you remember what?
Like, it's like I was going to say, having your posse of women to celebrate and help you maintain your boundaries. Right. So it's not just about any one thing. It is having that group there that can really help you maintain your own sovereignty, your own self-care. So we work together and keep making sure we all are taking care of ourselves so that we can all show up in the best light that we want to show up in whatever it is we're doing out in the world. And so,
Well, to help you find those boundaries too, because that was another big thing in this particular
yeah,
situation. Basically,
finding,
I'll just, in the high level, folks, I let a person who was homeless move in with me twice. And then this person was taking real advantage of the situation, let's just say. But it took my posse of girls saying, "And no, because I'm like, but if I kick her out, she doesn't have any place to go. The shelters are full. It doesn't," and they're like, "That is not your problem." I'm like, "Are you sure?" But having, I needed those women to help me even find an appropriate boundary, because
yeah,
I was giving to the point of where I was depleting, where it's costing me so much. I'm depleting myself and my resources. And pretty soon I'm going to be drowning. I'm going to be homeless because I've given everything away so that these other people don't have to be homeless, right? Like, I mean, it was literally like getting into that kind of territory. And it took being in conversation with other women who would be willing to say to me, "And you are so far past the boundary, you can't even see it. Like, get back,
mhm.
get back in your territory. That is not your dominion."
That's what Anne did for me, and some of the caregiving with my dad. Even you were there with me with my mom, and there was just, like, I'm losing my mind and thinking there's something wrong with me because I
Right.
just am not doing well in that situation. And like, I didn't realize I was not having a boundary. You didn't
Yeah.
even realize. I don't think you ever used the word boundary once in the whole time we're talking about it. It's just suggestions on ways to deal with this situation, which, sometimes it's hard when you think the world's going to fall apart if you don't do it yourself.
Yeah.
And we were in Greece, and my dad had gone in the hospital. I was like, I've got to go home. And you looked at me, and I called a friend in the US and said, what are you going to do when you get here? I'm like,
Yeah.
nothing. It's like, then don't come home. Then you're
Yeah.
fine.
Go to the beach. Lay on that lounge chair.
Exactly.
Go get a massage.
What are you coming home for? He's fine. Your sisters are here. He's taken care of. And so,
Well, that's yeah. Sorry.
go
But
ahead.
the other thing is that when we step away, we think only we can do it. But we step away and let somebody else do it, and they show up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, that is 100% what's happened.
Yeah.
Yes. And just
Exactly.
get out of the way. Everything is fine.
Mhm.
You put the ball down, somebody picked it up, and everything is still fine. Or sometimes you can put the ball down and it can stay down, and you really didn't need to have it in the first place, and nobody else does either. In medicine, Robyn, particularly, how we feel like, and I felt like, that I had to be the one to take on these people's problems, patients' problems, to help
Mhm.
them get better. And it
Mhm.
took me a long time in there to realize that I really couldn't control what they did. But
Mhm.
it was it was really hard for me to get through. And that was a long time ago, but I still remember it to this day, crying, realizing there is nothing I can do for some of these people, and I have to be able to let that go. So I'm sure there are other women physicians out there in that same position of thinking of of I call it getting the life sucked out of me. I was getting the life sucked out of me by patients because I didn't have a boundary for what I can do and not do.
Yeah.
How do we
Oh,
help those ladies, those women out there working through that?
well, and I actually start with looking at energy as far as, we have a bank of energy. When you tend to be, as doctors, we're like, oh, we got to fix it. We got to fix it. We got to.
Yes.
When I gave up fixing, I was like, oh my gosh, there's just so much room in my brain. And, like I can be there for somebody, and we can come to recommendations and all of that, and taking care of yourself. And I have to let that go afterwards.
Yeah.
But I started to practice between patients, actually, where I would kind of like come out, and just kind of like take a moment to even brush myself off, take a couple big deep breaths, and go, okay, now this, I'm going to be present for this other person.
Mhm.
But I keep coming back to practice, practice,
It's
practice.
practice.
Yeah, you bring it home. It's like, no, practice, practice, practice. That's why coaching is so powerful.
It's
Anyway, yeah.
the thing I did, I didn't brush off. I was like, I'm putting my armor on when I'm going into a patient
Oh,
room
yeah.
so
Yeah,
that
I
they
did see
don't
that. Yeah.
attach themselves to me. I have my armor on so I can make my suggestions, make my recommendations, but it's your responsibility to do or not do.
But
It's not my responsibility. We
but
can
here's
do
a
that.
as your former coach, say, and then there's a place and time where it matters to take the armor off. And that's something that I've seen a lot of women, well, humans, but women particularly do, is we deal with it by disassociating or putting that armor. And this was me too. Like I had the armor on. And so I've had to learn where do I need to put it on and where do I need to take it off? Because I've got to have both of those skills. So to make room, like for example, to make room to be vulnerable with my husband so he could step in and start doing the laundry and start doing that stuff, I had to take some armor off. I actually had to take some armor off because how I had gotten in my marriage was like, God, sounds totally terrible. Hopefully my husband never listens to this, but like just ignoring him. I'll just work around him. I'll just handle all the stuff. I'm not even going to interact with him. He's an idiot about that, whatever. And I had to, at a certain point, get vulnerable. My daughter said to me, she goes, Mom, you need to cry more. And I was like, what? That is not a thing. I've been working on crying less. What are you talking about? Like, I got to be a powerful woman. I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. People look up to me. Like, I'm a leader. What do you mean I got to cry? I'm like, she's like, no, Mom, you need to cry more. And it was actually really good advice. And, because at that point I would only sort of cry or fall apart or whatever when it was so bad. Like I was so burned out and so at my edge that I couldn't hold it together anymore.
Yeah.
I needed to learn how to let it go before I was at that edge. So there's a place. And then now my coach is working with me about putting armor on.
Yeah.
Back to taking in homeless people.
Scary. It is very scary, and being in that vulnerable place, and because maybe nobody's going to come, maybe nobody's going to help me, maybe I really am all alone, and turns out you're not. But I have had that fear of maybe it won't, maybe it'll just be me and my 3 dogs that are now staring at me because they want to know when I'm going to feed them. But
Girl, I can tell you I don't have armor. I have a rainbow around me. That's how I kind of so there's certain things that pass through. I think of rainbow as refracting light. There's certain things that pass through and certain things that, I keep out. So it's instead of all or none.
Oh, I like that. I think I'm going to steal that. Felicia,
Well,
let's try that.
Here, it may be that where you are, you have to start where you are. It may be that armor is what that practice. And it's cut and dried as opposed to, I think I graduated to a rainbow.
to something that can have that can get through, but you get to choose whether it gets through or not.
Exactly. That's power. Yeah. Definitely.
Choice. Here we are again at choice.
And practice. I say that, all the time. Practice.
You guys, this has been good because we could keep talking. This is how we do. If you want more of this, anybody out there in Wealth Be Hers listeners land, we have every Saturday, Anne hosts the Women's Circle where we
Friday.
What did I say? Wednesday, Friday,
Saturday. That's Friday.
It's going to be in the show notes, you guys, the right day. On Friday afternoons, we get together and we talk. And there's no set agenda. It's, hey, what's going on?
Even when there is, it kind of doesn't matter.
We go where it goes. This
where it needs to
kind of
go.
conversation, it goes where it goes. What people need is what we need. We don't offer advice unless it's asked for, which is huge.
For one,
Learning to listen is. Have you guys seen that commercial where it's a progressive commercial where, somebody's having a problem and then the person that they're sharing their problem with isn't getting it. And there's put in a substitute person. And this woman is talking to her friend about something. And she's like, you're not listening. And some guy comes in, he sits down like this and and he gives her feedback. It was so good.
I love that.
Learning to listen and finding the group of people who you can share with and trust and fall apart with, and who are there and are just going to be there and let you fall apart. I mean, because sometimes that's what you got to do to be able to come back together. And how can people find you?
So illuminate life. We'll put it in the show notes because it's a funky license platey kind of spelling. And you go in there, there's all kinds of stuff, but you'll see illuminate women. And that gives you access to our Goddess Living community. It's a membership product. We got a sale going until the end of the year, $149 for a year of weekly emails that not just come out with these conversations, but also come out with a practice. And our deal is always, it has to be something you can do in under an hour each week to develop your ability to care for yourself in these 8 areas. So I love that you brought those up because we try to vary that. I mean, sometimes it's going to be a recipe, sometimes it's going to be a journal exercise, sometimes whatever. So we'll make sure we'll put that in the show notes, but that's probably the best place. And then you're going to say something about your Dominica because that's some serious radical self-care too.
I am, but before, because I remembered something I was going to talk about earlier, and that was one of the exercises that was in one of the recent emails was a being and doing.
Mm.
And describe, because I was looking at that, I was like, I don't know, I don't understand. Describe the practice. And you said 10 minutes, 3. It wasn't like don't take forever to do it, but describe what you wrote there, Robyn.
Well, I mean, so we're used to doing, like you do the laundry, but who are we being? Are we being that busy, overworked, whatever person, or are we being more laid back? Are we being peaceful? And it's like what you take on as a way of being, like we be human. So being is a way of looking at your behavior that involves who you be.
Okay.
Any sense?
No, I need more explanation. So
I would include feeling. I think feeling is an easier way to get access to being. So how are you feeling about it? How, and bringing in that curiosity piece and awareness. I think you're talking about the inventory practice we had with the self-care radical thing. Because it started with, you grab a journal and you do some inquiry, you do some looking, which is impacting who you're being, how you're feeling about it. And then how you're feeling about it is going to have everything to do with how you're being about it. So if you're feeling really down and defeated, then you're going to be being, sad. You're going to be being shut down. So feelings is a way to access being, right? And getting clear about, wait, how am I feeling about that? And so we often give out kind of an inquiry base. So this one was list your care work, your emotional labor, your mental load, and then we gave examples, and then translate your professional skills. What are the skills that you actually bring to handling those things, right? So now we're moving into the action. Then we gave some things, say out loud, read your skills list out loud to yourself. So that's like an action that's showing you and evoking those feelings and kind of showing you, whether you're realizing or not, it's showing you who you're being about it, but it's also kind of transforming who you're being about it. Because as you bring awareness, you're going to automatically shift being.
Right.
I think that's why you're finding being hard, because we talk a lot about being, those of us in this kind of field, but most people don't really have access to who they're being. So set that aside for a second. Just kind of tend to how you're feeling, and it'll shift how you're being.
Right.
That's an easier access.
The other thing we've talked about, I'm sorry, we're going to end this show one of these days, but we talked about feelings and not knowing what feelings are. And I'm a person who's like knows, I'm better now, but I used to just be tired. I'm just tired. It was just, now I can figure out, okay, this is unmotivated. I'm not really tired. I'm just not motivated and don't want to deal with this. Or I'm annoyed or I'm frustrated. And everything before was just tired. And I think there's quite a bit of that kind of thing out there. I'm not the only person who can't identify emotions, but
I couldn't. I did this app during the pandemic, and it had about, I don't know, maybe 20 feelings, and it would have you 2 or 3 times, as much as you could in a day. You would like check in and say, and I remember fighting with it because one of them was happy, how much, and you'd slide this bar like how much your day was happy, and I was always so pissed. I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, why are you? I was so, and that one just so got me for months. But there are some great apps out there that, we've recommended sometimes in Goddess Circle, where you can just begin, if you could just start 2 or 3 times a day, just stop and check in and go, well, how am I feeling right now?
Well, that's a specific practice that you can take on too. We talk about like, hours of meditation. No, like checking in with yourself, like your hand on your chest, over your heart, putting your other hand on your stomach towards the bottom of it. That's where relationships live. And just taking slow, deep breath and doing that 3 times. And what do I feel? Like asking the question, what am I feeling? Followed by what do I need?
Mm.
And I think that's really good, a good practice for actually going into the holidays and stuff too.
And that's a doing that will
Yeah.
give you access to feeling and being. And
Right.
that's, for most of us, that is how we have to access it, because we're such doing machines. We live in a society that's all about doing and producing and whatever. So if that's where you got to start taking on your self-care. Okay.
Perfect.
I think a lot of women are out there. It doesn't really matter how I feel. I got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to get that done. I've got to get that. Just forget it doesn't matter how you feel. Just start noticing how you feel.
You know,
Because it does matter.
One step of noticing how you feel. Forget what you're doing with it. Notice it. And then we can move forward with what you're going to do with it. Says we got baby steps.
Well, that's this. So now you're talking about spiritual self-care, actually. But what you're actually describing, because in almost every spiritual teaching in some way, shape, or form, they're going to talk about the suppression of feeling, and it stays in your body, lives in your physiology, and it will come and get you. Doesn't matter. And maybe it'll take years. Doesn't matter. But Robyn talked about her burnout. I've talked about my burnout and my illness. And, yes, there's viruses that help cause that. It wasn't just that, but for years I powered through and powered through and powered through and powered through until I just couldn't anymore. And that is what, if you want to short circuit that, these are the things you want to start paying attention to. And your feelings are one of those things. We are emotional creatures. And, we've taught so much, all the personal training and personal coaching and human development for most of the last 50, 60 years has been about setting aside your feelings. Well, as one of those teachers, we had it wrong. We had it wrong. You need to, for your own health, for your own care, for your own, and if you really ultimately want to be productive, is start tending to how you're feeling. Just a little bit.
Notice it, number one. Robyn, how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, well, through Illuminate Women and through, I have a website that's dralley-hay.com.
We'll have it in this show notes so you can spell it.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
wreck your car or let the dog go. You can write it down. We
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah.
And you guys, like I said, I met these women through Illuminate Women, and they have been a lifeline for me, someplace for me to go to share what I need to share and talk about what I need to talk about and get feedback, advice when I want it, or just sometimes a place to cry. And that's hard to do sometimes, is just to get a place where you can cry and actually people let you cry and not get scared because you're crying. And that's just an amazing thing. It's like, oh, I can cry and people don't think I'm a crazy person because I'm crying. It's huge. All right, we're going to let you guys get on with your day. I appreciate you staying here. Thank you so much, Anne and Robyn. You guys, I hope you learned something about self-care. Big self-care.
I was going to say, I'm going to say it if you don't.
We're getting into some financial self-care. It is about, at our Dominica retreat, the first annual Wealth Be Hers retreat in Dominica in March, the end of March 25th through 29th. Go to the website, Money with Mission, under events, and click Wealth Be Hers, and you'll see all about it. But it's not lectures, you guys. I'm done with lectures. I like sitting around, eating good food at the pool, taking a hike, and talking like that, and just getting to know each other, finding your community of women that you can be with and share with and talk money with, or talk spouses with, or talk kids with, and be the person that you are, and let it go. And they can be there to support you, hear you, and just to have those people to celebrate with. That is what I want. And I want to build that community. And I want the people that are out for me and be here for me. And it's just, I don't even know how to say it. It's a special group of people. And if we will meet to know that if it will fit you. So if you go on there and click, let's talk and let's see if it'll fit. That's what I'm going to say. I know I just kind of rambled that through, but I'm really excited about the trip. I really am.
Well, that trip is such an example of we've thought of self-care as the thing we do after everything else in order to produce whatever it is, caring for our kids, earning the money, whatever. What I love about your Dominica retreat is it's like, no. And I've seen this in like what I call vacation programs, but when you're in an environment where there is nothing, people are taking care of you, you're getting a massage as part of the thing here, you're like hiking through some waterfalls, you're hanging around, and Felecia does have some topics that she's going to be bringing up, and she's incredible. She's done these sessions with us at our goddess retreats, and they're amazing. And you are going to leave there with a whole different perspective on yourself, but also who you are as a financial being. And you're going to leave a lot in Dominica, I would assert, in terms of that stuff that you're ready to let go of so that you can actually open up a receivership. That's what that's the feminine side, is the receiver side. And most of us, our receivers are pretty dang broken. So if we got to take you to Dominica and feed you some gourmet food and get you rubbed down with some great massage and float you around under some waterfalls and, have you experience that kind of radical beauty and care, sometimes for some of us, that it takes that kind of intervention. So if you're ready for an intervention,
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Check it out, guys. Robyn, Anne, thank you so much. Just so much fun.
Thank you.
And do it again.
I know.
Good. Bye, you guys. See you next week.
All right.